Hey, Patrick, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Good to see you live because this morning I watched your video first thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we've got you on here today talking about finding and retaining workers, which is a big topic all across, even beyond North America. But you've got an eye for lean as well.
I do. I have a lean philosophy at heart and applying lean to education. So, I run a post-secondary training facility and everything's about lean and improving and eliminating the waste and training process.
Yeah, great. Hey, I met you because you were an AWFS speaker, but for the people listening to the podcast, they might not know who you are. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. I'm based in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm a post-secondary educator. I've come from the trades at heart. So when I was in college, I was studying fine art. And what am I going to do with a BFA when I graduate? And so I got some skills doing carpentry work, fell in love with building, changed my major to architecture, and was actually trained as an architect.
Oh,
Ran my own construction business through college. Have spent a lot of time traveling and researching how we train our craftsmen around the world. Spent 2.5 years in Japan teaching English to pay the bills, but my true mission was researching Japanese art and architecture and learning about their craft. I came back to the U.S. in '96. My formal training as a woodworker is I studied traditional wooden boat building. Out in Port Townsend, Washington for 6 months. Not because I wanted to build a boat, but I have a love of curved and circular work. And so my philosophy is if you can build a boat, you can build anything.
yes.
So after boat school, I came back to Madison, Wisconsin. I was born and raised in Green Bay and started my own finished carpentry custom woodwork business. And I did that for a few years. My goal was not to have employees. I grew up in business. Grew up in the Dairy Queen business, and
Really?
I didn't want the headaches of employees.
Okay.
And so the writing was on the wall after a couple of years that I was going to be the president and janitor for the rest of my life, and it was fine. I had a good business, but I got the opportunity to teach, and it brought back the experience from Japan. I truly love working with individuals, helping them succeed. So I've been at the college, Madison College, which I run a 1-year technical training program, cabinet making and millwork. So I've been there for 20 years. Absolutely love it because it brings all of my skill sets. It brings my background in architecture, my love of woodworking, my ability to communicate. So I feel like, I've got the best job in the world and helping the industry supply them. I've got over 300 graduates now.
Yeah.
And probably the most fulfilling aspect of this job is when I have former graduates who are now either own their own business or are working as shop managers calling me for employees. That feels great.
That it does feel great, and so you're leaving a legacy in the world.
I would hope so. I mean, that is the great thing about being a teacher, right? When you see your students succeed.
That's great. You have a love for lean. And
Yes.
I was mentioning that I was just watching your video. For people listening who might want to go onto YouTube, what's the name of that video?
Boy, you put me on the spot here.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's lean practices. I usually just do a search for Madison College, Molzahn, my last name, and lean. And I'm sure you can put a link to it.
I'll put a link,
perhaps.
yeah.
But it's a 7-minute video. And what I did it a couple of years ago, just a tour of our shop and pointing out some of the lean things that we've implemented in the shop. So a lot of people have interest just seeing the unique ideas and improvements that we've made. And like I said, it's a couple years old. We were talking beforehand. I really need to redo it because we've added about $250,000 of technology since that video. So hopefully I'll get around to that soon.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who have not yet seen it, you should go check it out. I really liked the zone schedule you have for cleaning. And I'll just leave that. Everybody's at a different place in lean, and what some shops consider clean, other shops consider messy, and vice versa. But I really like that simple system you have there. But let's leave that for another day, maybe another topic. You get to deal a lot with these new generations. The one that everybody has a lightning rod for now is these millennials. Mm-hmm. And they're no different than, dial it back a couple decades, those darn hippies. And you dial it back, and there's always some generation that is in question. But when we talk to people like you who are right at the coal face, like you're right in front of these new types of these new generations coming in, what do we need to know about training and retaining those kind of people in our shop?
You have to capture their interest. And I don't think it's really any different than it's been through hundreds of years. They always say the generation coming up, oh, they roll their eyes, they're lazy, they're not interested. And, I haven't found that to be true. If you've got somebody genuinely interested, they're there. And I'm blessed with students, in our program, our average age is 26. I've got a small portion coming out of high school, but they generally know why they want to be there. They're focused and ready to go into the industry. But I think with anybody, what's in it for me? Showing them. So as an employer, getting them active, respecting their ideas. And that's why I love Lean so much. It's, getting the people on the floor to come up with and feel like they're part of the process. So, respect their ideas, listen to them. And when they have good ideas, implement them. And, I have a ongoing suggestion box with my students. And I said, I want to see that filled with ideas. And I said, implementation's the hard part, but at least, giving those ideas, they feel involved and empowered. And that's truly what I'm trying to do as a teacher, is empower my students.
Yeah. I know that there's different ways to empower people. One of them is if you believe in education and anybody joining an organization, they actually want to contribute. They want to find a way to contribute.
Yep.
But there's a really easy system. You might already use this one, but what I'll do is, or what I've guided some of my clients to do, is say, we have an education program here. If you go out and you buy, I know one of the books that you're a fan of, and I've interviewed Paul Akers from 2 Second Lean.
Yep.
It's a great book,
Yep.
to the point.
Yep.
If you go out and buy that book on your own, and then write me a quick summary when you're done, I'll reimburse you the cost of the book double. So if you paid $20 for the book, I'll give you $40. And so how hard is that? And I don't even care if their wife wrote it or somebody else wrote it for them. The fact is they went through the effort and they did it. It's $40 out of my pocket, but the rest of the crew knows that we believe in education.
Exactly.
And it extends to everybody, not just one person. Go read a book, do a book report, very simple book report, and I'll double the investment in the book.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great strategy.
Simple, right? And if they never take you up on it, at least we're saying we're doing our part.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're training new workers, why don't you take us through the high points of what you talked about at the AWFS?
Okay. Well, the title of my talk was Finding, Training, and Retaining Great People. Okay. And so the first challenge, and we hear this all the time, is there's nobody out there. Where are all the people? And so how do you find them? And so I presented several ideas on how to find them. First of all, find a school. Okay. Now, I run a post-secondary training program. There are about 24 decent post-secondary training programs in the country. So they're a little bit harder to find. Most of our graduates stay in Wisconsin, but that's not that they don't go all over the U.S. During their careers. But everybody's got a high school within reasonable distance, right? Find a school, work with them, help them. First of all, a lot of shops have scraps laying around and they got to get rid of those scraps, and schools are on tight budgets. So, call them up, say, hey, I've got some material here. That's a great way to start building a relationship. And then take the time to get involved with that school. And a lot of companies are, I don't have time, I'm busy. Well, go there. I've seen it firsthand. So last spring, I allow employers to come in and talk to my students. Now, our time is valuable. Student shop time is valuable. So I say, look, I'll give you 15 minutes. You can do a spiel for 15 minutes. And then if students want to stay and listen to you, then they'll hang around and you'll get the active people that are interested. Okay, so last spring, I had 6 employers come in. 5 of them walked away with employees. They took the time, an hour or 2 out of their day, to come in. And I've seen it makes a huge impression. So connecting with those students. And a lot of times you might not see the payback for a couple of years, but making that impression is huge. Getting involved. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, because I think some of the listeners might have this question. What do I talk about if I'm in front of your students? What do they want to hear?
Well, most businesses have a website. So it's very simple to get up there and show your website. This is what we do. This is what we make. And the kids go, wow, I didn't realize, that was out there, that, we made stuff like this, and this is what it takes. Talking about, how you got involved. You have a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening to this channel, I'm sure. The kids are curious. A lot of them want to be entrepreneurs, right? So tell them your life story. It's not hard, and they're fascinated. And it's a lot, when I have an outsider come in, it validates what they're hearing every day from me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's, kids lock onto that. So definitely, take advantage of that.
Okay. Good. So that's the finding side.
That's the finding side, right? And so, well, I don't have a high school that has a wood shop program. Okay. Well, other avenues, scouting, right? Boy Scouts. I'm the father of 2 Eagle Scouts, right? They have woodworking merit badge. Yeah. And Eagle Scouts have to do a project, and 90% of the time it involves wood, right? They want to build benches, picnic tables, something like that, right? So get them out to your shop. Do it. If you have a Boy Scout troop, say, hey, do you want to have a meeting out here? And we put on an event where the Boy Scouts made chairs, and I introduced them to the CNC and modern wood manufacturing. And, all those eyes opened up at an early age. I've got 10, 12-year-olds that now realize that woodworking is a career. It's not just a hobby because, my grandpa did it. Yeah.
Yeah. You just said there might not be a wood shop at the local high school, but that doesn't matter, does it? There's people that are trades oriented that are they want to work with their hands in a school that has a wood shop or not. And so you might as well find a way to present to them or invite them to do a tour of your shop.
Yeah. So, we have real challenges in our industry. There's a lot of direction in the school system. You got to go to college. And I have nothing against college. I've got 2 college degrees, but about 25% of our jobs need degrees. We have 500,000 manufacturing jobs that go unfilled. We needed to be showing these students that, hey, there are opportunities out there, and those opportunities huge in manufacturing to build a very nice career, right? But the problem is awareness. We have a perception, parents' perception, that, first of all, my son's going to college, because to get a real job, you got to go to college, right? And they don't realize that the wood industry exists. So, I like to say each and every one of us is an ambassador for our industry. So having those conversations, and I ran into this with scouting a lot, where, oh, what do you do? I teach at the technical college. What do you teach? Cabinet making. Oh, that's a nice hobby. No, it's not a hobby. It's a huge industry, right? Wisconsin leads the nation in wood manufacturing, and their eyes would open up. Really? I didn't realize that. So the conversations we have, if you're sitting next to somebody on an airplane, tell them what you do. It's huge. And that's the ripple effect. And so, that's how you get employees. It's sprinkling the seeds for the future, right? Early on.
Right. Yeah. And always be doing that. Be active, be out there. Exactly. It is easy to just say, I go to work, I go home. I go to work, I go home, and not network in the community. Yeah. However, the community is where your team is going to come from. And if you're having trouble finding people, you've got to do things different than everybody else.
Word of mouth is huge. And one thing you can do is give bonuses to your employees if they find a friend that's interested. Chances are that if they're a good employee, they're hanging around with probably some people that have similar likes and attitudes and interests. Absolutely. And so what a way to funnel people in. My son is an electrician. He gets a bonus for everybody he recommends that comes to the company and stays for 6 months or longer.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I have a client company that does that, and they advertise and remind people that they're looking for new staff above the urinal.
Yeah. Hey,
you got to post something there, and so that's where they post it. When there's a job posting, put it there.
I would call that effective marketing, right?
Effective use of wasted space.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's a little bit on finding. What about on the training side? Let's break it into these 3 categories.
Yes, training is huge. Obviously, I'm an educator saying training is huge, right? But I hear from a lot of companies, well, what if I train them and they leave? And I like to say, well, what if you train them and they stay? How much is it costing you, right? So Richard Branson once said, train them so that they can leave, but treat them well enough so that they don't want to leave, right? So that's the key. You've got to invest in training, and there are resources out there to help you. So I've consulted with businesses. I've seen businesses want to build their own training program from scratch. I spent 20 years as an educator creating materials, thousands of hours. And my advice is don't start from scratch. There are organizations out there that can help you. The
Right.
Woodwork Career Alliance is a great organization. They have training resources for a nominal annual membership fee. You can access those training resources to build your own library.
Well, wouldn't that be lean thinking anyways? Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
Go find what somebody else is doing, internalize it, and customize it yourself. You're going to do it anyway.
Customize it and improve it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, make
Exactly.
it yours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody's doing different things. We think everybody is making kitchen cabinets or architectural millwork, but we've got people out there that just specialize in Murphy beds or elevator interior finishing or wine racks or whatever they do.
Absolutely.
So any training system you have is going to be generic, and then you have to customize it. So don't be afraid to go out there and get a pre-made curriculum and bring it in place.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, it takes a lot of time, and you're in business to get a product out the door. So you don't have time to do this. So by taking something ready-made and implementing it, but you build into that a reward system, right? So when somebody's trained and improves, how are you going to reward them, right? And so if you can link training and improvement to a wage incentive, that's going to help you retain your people, right? And it's going to give them a desire and interest in continuing to learn and stay on and becoming more productive. So that's a key element of training.
Interesting. And Patrick, just once more for people who are listening that might be interested, where did you say that curriculum can be found?
So that is the Woodwork Career Alliance. The website is woodworkcareer.org. And the Woodwork Career Alliance has over 125 high schools that are members. They have industry members as well. And so as a part of the industry membership, which is $250 a year, you get access to this curriculum material.
Oh, that's not bad. And I'm sure that you've just given a solution to somebody out there. Thanks.
Good.
All right. So what about retaining?
So we talked a little bit on it in terms of incentives, right? So first of all, how often are you checking in with your workers, right? What are their needs? What are their interests? What are their desires? So take a little time to get to know and get down on the floor and talk to your workers. Are they happy? What issues are they having? That's huge. And that's, again, why I like Lean so much, because it involves workers personally, okay? Yeah, there's incentives out there. Incentives for, showing up on time, getting the product out the door, recruitment, obviously. Shop access. That's something that our students desire. When they look for a company, they're going to no longer have a huge facility to do their own stuff. Can they have access to your shop maybe on the weekends? 4-day work week is a common one. 4-10s. If I were running a business, it'd be 4-10s. And if we needed overtime, it'd be a half day on Friday.
And you've got that flex. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's very appealing to a lot of people. We have to realize 25% of our manufacturing force is 55 or older. So how can we accommodate that aging workforce, right? Through technology. Maybe they need to be reassigned to a different area that's not so physically demanding on their body. Things like the exoskeleton, where it helps you lift, is something that can really keep those individuals going. As they're going towards retirement, can we keep them working by reducing their work week, right? So other options there. Again, touching base with them. How are you doing? What can we do to make your life better and, our business more productive?
That it's an interesting point you talk about, touching base. It's a simple system. It's a very human-based system, but I see it overlooked so many times. And here it is. When you get to the shop in the morning as the owner, walk around before you go up to your office and close the door.
Absolutely.
Just walk around for 2 minutes. Hi, George. Hi, Frank. Hi, Susan. Good morning. Just do the rounds, walk the floor, and then go on with your day. But that forms at least a relationship with people. You remember their name, you say hi. And then when you have to go down and talk to them, they're not freaked out when you walk up to George and say, hey, George, can we talk for a second?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to wreck that featherboard. I'm sorry. No, just talking. It's about something else. But if you never talk to your team, the first time you go talk to them one-on-one, it's human nature. They're going to freak out.
Sure.
You might as well walk around every day.
When do you usually come talk to them? When there's a problem, right? And so what you want to do is come and have positive reinforcement. I have a friend I was talking to recently. He's got a AWI shop in New England. He's got all his employees' birthdays in his phone. Birthday comes up. Oh, Joe's got a birthday today. You know what he's doing? Going out to the floor. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Happy birthday. Simple little thing.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it?
People want to be acknowledged and feel loved, right?
Yeah.
And part of the team.
Yeah. And if you don't want to go through the trouble of putting it on your phone, ask your assistant to go back to all the HR records and input it in the company calendar so it just pops up. Patrick's birthday's today or tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a really good one. The on retaining people, I did an interesting exercise the other day that I hadn't done in a long time, and it reminded me how much people like to know that they have training available where they work.
Yes.
And so we did the math. This company does a toolbox talk 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Now, that's a talk that you might call it by another name, but it's really where we're looking at projects and where they fall on the schedule. We touch on safety. We touch on maintenance items that are both proactive and reactive, things that just popped up, and things like the compressor that we know we're going to check on a regular basis. When we did the math and added that up, along with some other little things that they do, it was 51 hours a year of ongoing training that we're giving back to our team. So being part of Dom's Woodwork, there's 51 hours a year of ongoing training. Well, people like to hear that. So on the retention side, when somebody else meets them at a barbecue and says, hey, you should come over to my shop if you're ever, in their head, they're like, I don't know, man, like we get a lot of training where we're at. It's a really good environment. It's, why would I leave? So you want those are little things that keep people interested and keep them on board. You have to tell them you're doing it, but you've
absolutely. Yeah. And you're also involving them in the bigger picture, right? So they don't just feel like a cog in the system. And I go in, I do this task over and over and over, and I really don't know why I do it or what I do. Right. And so when they see the big picture, they feel part of a team. Right. And that's huge.
Yeah. The companies that I find that have the best retention are the ones where the people on the floor know that we're building the Smith house or that big law firm downtown. That's the project we're working on. And if there's a way to get a picture or see something at the end, so they're proud and go, we built that.
Exactly.
I built that reception area. Isn't that cool? And you can tell your family when you go home for dinner.
Exactly.
And you're proud of it.
Yeah. And in 20 years, you'll tell your kids or grandkids or whatever, and that's one of the things I tell my students. That's one of the most satisfying things about what we do is in the end, we leave with a product, right? And you can turn to that and say, I did that. I participated and helped build that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. There is a nice feeling to being able to point to something at the end of the day and say you finished it.
Yep.
Sometimes I look at my desk and I've either got more paper on it or less. That's that's all I know at the end of my day. All right. Well, Patrick, this has been fantastic. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, you're obviously a great resource. How would we find you in this big wide world?
Well, email's the best contact, and you're welcome to put my contact link up here. Molzahn at madisoncollege.edu is my email. By all means, if anybody wants to email me, I have a newsletter that I put out 2-3 times a year. We have events at the college. I have people mostly in the Midwest, but I do have people from all over the country that'll attend these training events. The next one we have coming up is Edge Banding Seminar. Working on the date, but likely in February. It'll be a half-day event. We'll serve lunch. We bring in technicians from the companies, talk about edge bander maintenance and, what's out there. So they're welcome to contact me. We'll put some links, I think, on your website with these contacts. Wisconsin has a job posting service that's free. So I'll put a link on that. So you're welcome to post ads on Tech Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess a couple things I would like to say as we wrap up. One, if I can plug my textbook, Modern Cabinet Making. If you're looking for a resource, it is the most current available resource on the market. So I rewrote it in 2016. It's used by a lot of companies and programs, high school and post-secondary. So if you're looking for a book that might help, Modern Cabinet Making. Another thing that we're going to post as a resource, I have a 20-question quiz. I would not hire an employee without spending some time, either a personality test or a quiz to judge their desire to learn. And so this is a growth mindset quiz that's real easy to take, real easy to score. I give it to all my students because I want to know what is their mental attitude towards learning and continuing to develop. If they're closed, they have a closed mindset, they're never going to grow with you. And so you might not want to waste your effort on that particular individual.
Yeah. I love the fact that you just nailed that attitude is the most important thing.
Yes.
There's something we talk about called the Carnegie Triangle, which comes from Dale Carnegie. And it's looking at a triangle, knowledge, skills, and attitude. Which of the three is most of an indicator to success? And it's not knowledge and skill.
Yes.
We probably all know really skilled people that just can't get out of bed and tie their own shoelaces.
Right.
But with the right attitude, you can accomplish anything. You truly can accomplish anything.
Absolutely.
And we need those people in our crew, not people with a bad attitude.
I tell my students, employers will call me and ask me about an individual. And the first question they'll ask is, how is their attendance? What is their attitude like?
Yeah.
It's not, what are their grades? What's their GPA? They could care less about that. They want to know, is that person a team player? And are they on task, on time, and have a positive attitude?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting that you nailed that. I love it.
Awesome.
Patrick, just for people who are listening who might not know how to spell your name, it's your email address is pmolzahn@madisoncollege.edu. I'll have it in the show notes, but for those of you listening who might not want to wait, I'll spell it out for you. Actually, why don't you spell it so we make sure we get it right?
P. Molzahn, MOLZAHN @madisoncollege.edu.
You see what I was worried about there was that silent H you threw in there.
It's a good German. Good German name.
Ellis Islanded on that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and really extend what you presented at AWFS to people who weren't able to be there. So thanks for that, and thanks for being on our show.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Have a great day.
You too.